Hello, welcome back. Just, just slowly building this crap. As you can see, I now need to put the redstone on this hunk of, yeah. This is going to be a long and boring process. I see I've been playing for all of 20 seconds and I'm really starting to feel motion sick from there. Do I need two of those? Essentially I do, don't I? That is just vaguely annoying. Now what I can do save very slightly on lag. Alright, that's correct. Just got to do the same again over here. Joy of joys. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry, this is going to be a short stream today, just to start work on this interminable task. Now, one thing we can't do here is that. Yeah, this would be so much easier if I allowed myself to use advanced redstone, wouldn't it? Not that I would know what any of that advanced redstone is. I mean, I do know that there are ways of getting a signal straight up that are better than that, I think. And I have decided that I don't have the time to rebuild all of this with Insta wires. So this whole thing is going to be about half a second slower than it needs to be. So that's the thing. But if I allow myself the luxury of rebuilding everything, I'll be on this project for years rather than just a year or two. So gotta be somewhat economical with the point of this is to demonstrate the logic of a computer, really, rather than to build like an optimal Minecraft machine. Just I've already prohibited myself from using advanced techniques, so that is on, isn't it? Right. So even number for that matter, I hadn't. Well, so that would be an even number, yes. I think. Can I not know something that basic? But yes, it's an even number. Sorry, I was just thinking about the what leads to it being glass on this side or that side. If I start at the top the other way around, as if it's an even number, it will end up with glass missing on that bit there. Just keep placing the redstone, man. Put the fries in the bag. That is a little surprising. Why doesn't it reach the top then? So it's shorter than this one, and this one doesn't. What the devil am I smoking? Right, that's on. This is shorter and it's off. Is it shorter though? It's supposed to be shorter, but it is not shorter. Oh, I know what's happened here. So that needs to be that, which needs to be that. Which puts the whole tower out of sync by one. Just some minor quality control issues. Oh, yeah. actually, no, I'm doing it like this. No, I'm not. Do it the same way as I did the other ones. Copy from there. Copy from there. Oh. Damage did I do at the bottom here? Surprisingly, I did none. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? Wrong side, wrong side, wrong side, wrong side. Excuse me. Right. Right. Got to do this. Oh, hang on. I'm leaving these things out here as a sort of aesthetic choice. A relic of the building process. Hang on. What the... So that's even. That's odd. Is it another... I see. It's easier to just fill it back up and then break it again rather than... Oh, interesting. Okay. Don't need that outlier then anymore. And if you're just joining, you haven't really seen this before, what I'm building right now is an array for shifting the bits. So I guess you'd call it a bit shifter. I believe that's the correct terminology. To shift an inputted bits by, well, obviously that one at the end shifts them by 16 positions, and then that one at that end shifts it by 1 position. So you can shift any set of bits by any number between 1 and 16, which just means that I'm shifting all of the numbers in my binary number up by X amount, basically, so that and then filling in at the bottom with zeros, and obviously truncating the overflow at the top. And this is necessary for multiplication, to the best of my knowledge. You know, there may be a more efficient way of doing multiplication. I'm going with what I can figure out on my own. Oh, that's another messed up one, isn't it? So obviously each one of these, well, every two of these, every coupling of these two bit shifters has to feed into a binary adder as well. So this will feed into a binary adder over here, then this will feed into a binary adder over here. And I hope I've got the spacing right. So it's got to feed into this not this whole unit, but just this specific stack here, which is a stack of 2-bit adders. And yes, I hope I've got the spacing right now. I did count it out, and the spacing should be correct, but it's looking quite tight. It's looking precious close. I don't know, man. Have I messed this up? It's like, how many is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it's 18. Now what I've done is I've spaced each one of these 10 blocks apart. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11. And then what that means is that there'll be 10 across this gap, so that's, and then there's 10 on each side, so there should be a spacing of 30 for each binary adder. So there'll be a binary adder, I guess, here that will extend to about here, and then there'll be a binary adder here that will extend to about here. But I guess it just doesn't look like it's going to fit, but there should be room. I really might have messed that up, let's be honest. Where are we up to? I think it's here, yes. So, guess once I've done this, I'll start working on the switching process to control which bits get shifted. Because obviously it needs to bit shift to the corresponding ones in the number that it's being multiplied by. So, if that makes any sense at all. Basically, if you have two strings of ones and zeros, you want to multiply them together. You take one of them as the multiplicator. There's a specific word for that, and I've forgotten what. There's a specific word for the number that's obviously in mathematics it's commutative, right? So there's no distinction between the two, but in terms of like the process of it in like computers and whatnot, there is a distinction. So you call one of them like the multiplicator and the other one something else. There's a word for the two of them. But anyway, you take one of them and you extract all the ones in that one. You look at where they are in the number, and then you bit shift. You split the other number up into 16 versions of itself, and then you bit shift it by the order of you bit shift each one of those 16-bit numbers by the order of the corresponding power of. It's very, very simple, but it's I don't speak good. Basically, you bit shift according to the ones in the first number, and then you have to sum those results back up. I believe that's correct multiplication. I may be completely wrong. I don't talk good. For people who don't talk good. There's a reference. At this rate, I'll be dying in a freak gasoline fight accident. I think the original was people who don't write good, wasn't it? Does that count as an obscure movie? Yes, it probably does. Excuse me. Well, that's a question. Can I build a block off to the side of a redstone wire? If I aim just there. Success. So, switches. So I need to establish an outer limit. So just bring this across. Tell I'm doing all this with dead reckoning. At no point have I sat down and calculated. Well, technically I did calculate what the separation here should be. Not quite all dead reckoning, but nearly. And if it does turn out to be the wrong distance separation, I can quickly blame it on my over-reliance on substandard techniques, i.e. calculating in advance. Having a plan. So really it needs to be another 2 out from there, so 3 even was probably preferable, if not 4. Just give it a little bit of breathing room. So you know what, I'm going to do this again with the correct. Right. So, switch can be located somewhere around here. Obviously, first order switch. Switch comes in. Or the switch comes in. Not sure why I had such a big complicated structure there actually. Like, why was I... Obviously I was thinking of using an AND gate, but why was I thinking of using an AND gate when I can just use a switch? Does an AND gate add latency? Does it need to be a NOT gate? Oh yes, that's the one thing, is it does need to be knotted. So I need to bit flip all of this, which is easily done somewhere in the process. Probably modify that. For now I will assume that this output has been bit flipped. That makes it a little bit simpler. Second one needs to come across to here. So you can see, right, obviously each one of these lines only needs to come across as far as its bit shift power. Like that. Problem, of course, is stepping up. Some of the later ones this is going to be kind of difficult to deal with. Then I guess I do have a lot of space to do it, so I can do it. I can space it out a little bit. I guess I probably do want these to be... No, because if I have NOT gates here, then it's... I think I want these to be Insta wires. So... For example, here it doesn't matter because it's short enough, but next layer down it will need to be... Oh god. This is where it starts to get headache inducing. Yeah, so sort it out, son, sort it out. It needs to be spaced like this, otherwise the insta repeaters interfere with each other. And I'm just going to go along and space this all out semi-correct. Well, what I should do is I should put out the higher power from all of these. Since I've already set it up with that bounding wire. Not that it's a wire, but yeah. Is anybody else watching the Trackmania Tower? That's some good streaming. You could be watching that right now instead of this. Oh, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, I watched the other two. Well, most of it. I had second screen content, right? Working on my main screen. It's like this one's much easier, let's be honest, but still good content. But it's fascinating how it's like super simple goal. It's very, very entertaining. It's like pretty much everybody seems to like it. So this is a game. This is a racing car game, basically, where I don't know. I think I'd say that Trackmania is very close to some kind of platonic form, isn't it? It's like it's this incredibly simple, almost sort of perfect ideal of a video game racing car. But anyway, they obviously the part of it is they build these trial maps, which is it's all very nostalgic. So it reminds me of don't know why it's nostalgic, but it is nostalgic. That basically they have these tower maps that you've well, it's a trial. Basically, the idea is to climb the tower without what we could loosely call Iron Man mode. So if you fall off, you have to start again, basically. For whatever reason, that's a very nostalgic concept, and also literally everybody seems to like it. I mean, obviously it's the idea behind all of these rage games as well, but thought about making a rage game myself. This has been random, pretty much irrelevant banter with your host, myself. Well, I just find it really interesting how the incredibly simple narrative of something like a rage game, or in this case, a cat tower climbing game, right? It seems to be very, very compelling, I guess. I mean, I know why that is, but I guess it's always nice to see it in practice. So that's spaced correctly. That is, yes, that's all correct. Other thing I watched lately was, well, I actually watched it just this morning, was Magnus Midbow doing a straight line in Norway, which I was professionally curious about because I do a lot of ice water swimming. So it's like it's always funny watching someone who's so not particularly experienced go into super cold water. It's like everything handled it pretty well. Taking a thick wetsuit rather than a boat is pretty sensible, sort of anyway. But well, it's debatable, isn't it? Because so this is a guy. This is a Norwegian mountaineer, right? Who picked a spot in the Norwegian mountains um, to do a straight line challenge in. Right, a straight line challenge is obviously it's a bit absurd, to be honest. Like, if you know the countryside, you know that straight line challenges are really stupid. But the fun of it is that you're forced to deal with encounters that you wouldn't otherwise deal with, right? Obviously, if you're navigating in the countryside, you take a very sort of organic route to avoid obstacles and dangers, right? And this is obviously sensible, but it also means that you end up avoiding a lot of challenges. Um, for example, you'd walk around a cliff, or you'd walk around a hedge, or you'd walk around a lake, or whatever, or a bog. That's yes. Um, and you'd always pick firm footing, try and avoid like deep undergrowth, things like that. Um, but for better or for worse, there's been a trend of people walking in straight lines across countries and whatnot. Most notably, a guy called the Geo Wizard over here in Britain. But anyway, I was interested in this Magnus one because, in theory, he's quite experienced at outdoor stuff, and also he's also right. He couldn't have. I mean, it's obviously a stunning, stunning location, but it's like the Norwegian mountains are obviously incredibly harsh. So it seems that, so he did it in. From what I can see of the video, he did it in June, but the weather's like I think he's at elevation of around 3 to 4,000 foot. The weather was like sub two, so it's essentially in the very low, the low 1 degrees, single digit degrees, right? So obviously it's quite risky if you're doing that. It's like, well, obviously there's multiple risks. Like obviously for him, he's obviously rock climbing on slippy rocks and crap like that. Not taking his rope, which is, well, he did take his rope, but like he did some without his rope. It's obviously a fair risk, but you know he's probably got like GPS equipment that he can use as an emergency locator and things like that. So it's probably fine. But then there's obviously well, as the Geo Wizard found out when he was trying to get across Norway, there's obviously really deep bogs up there. Like if you fall in one of those, you're gone. You're gone basically. Um, but either way, my interest in all this was how cold are the lakes he's getting across, and it's like. It's like, so I was just sort of watching that, sort of trying to gauge from the amount of snow melt in the background of whether it's fresh snow melt and therefore the lakes might be a bit warmer, or if it's like it's been very cold all year up there, in which case the lakes will be at like 2 degrees, it's like at the same air temperature or whatever. It's like a bit of an obsession for me. Obviously, for myself, I'd swim in those like they're summer, whatever temperature they're at. But like for someone of his physique, it's very very impressive that he can get in and out without dying. This has been extended banter with me, your host. Banter. It's not really banter, is it? It's random chatter, isn't it? Right, so now I've got this assembly built, well, almost done. This, it's all spaced correctly, yes. Yeah, this is quite an elegant structure, to be honest. So this needs to be here. I think rather than working on the Switch, I'm going to be impossibly lazy and play a bit of Minecraft for a change and just hand fill out all of this dirt. Rather than copy pasting it. I suppose I said he did this mission in the Norwegian mountains as if that was like, you know, a specific region of Norway, when most of but the truth, of course, is that most of Norway is mountains. In fact, almost all of it. Very nice mountains too, actually, but yes, it was funny. It was like I'll throw a dartboard at this map and sorry, a dart at this map and see where it comes out. So you know, thinking you're gonna have a hell of a lot of mountains wherever it comes out. If you don't know, it's fun. Of course, if you don't know the video I'm talking about, this whole thing is going to come across like some crazy ramblings, which is probably because it is. But Yes, but going back to the Magnus Midbow straight line thing, I suspect that if a normal person had fallen into that water that he swam across, it's difficult for me to say because it's completely normal and comfortable for me to do that. So it's like I always look at that and think, ah, it's easy. But I suspect a normal person would have been in a lot of trouble if they'd done that. Which is like, it's one of these, it's one of the reasons, it's one of these things where it's like, it's actually very dangerous to do that kind of thing, like go in a straight line with reckless abandon. Because sensible, I mean, obviously, you know, if you know what you're doing and you're doing it for fun, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to knowingly get yourself into trouble and it's on you, or more problematically, you're going to damage somebody else's land or some natural piece of wildlife preserve or whatever. But which I guess is a fairly big issue in Britain. It's probably less of an issue in Norway, but obviously, yes, if you're not athletically inclined, and then you set out to do something like that, and then you fall into like a patch of water that could be at like 0 degrees, then you know you could be kind of screwed. I suspect. Either way, it was good viewing. But I'm sitting there thinking exactly how dangerous is it to fall into water that cold if you're not particularly experienced, and you know, am I correct, or am I being a bit of a wimp when I say probably significantly reducing your chances of survival by doing that? Because I mean, I guess if you think about it, the real problem is if you're not experienced, maybe you can't hike to warm up. Also, potentially you don't have good gear on to warm up, and also you've probably got to camp. You've probably got to stay overnight, and probably not in a nice sheltered cave. So, having fallen in the water, you're significantly increasing the chances of making. Well, firstly, obviously, hypothermia kind of ruins your decision making. Well, it can. It doesn't have to. And then yeah, if you not something you want to do unless you're sort of in like a safe, contained environment. Like for me, living in Britain, if I do that, I can hop in. You know, I hop into like freezing rivers all the time. Like But worst case scenario, I just sort of stumbled, dazed and confused into some poor person's house. Bad but not catastrophic. um, and if you've got to survive multiple nights in the Norwegian wilderness, then you've got problems potentially. But then it might be I'm completely overrating the risk of it. I mean, obviously he took what looked like quite a lot of food with him, which was obviously extremely sensible. He knows what he's doing. But yes, if he hadn't taken any food with him, it would have been altogether much more debilitating as well. Also, for the record, at no point have I had any issues doing that, and I've never stumbled into anybody's farmhouse, dazed and confused, in a state of hypothermic shock. So I'm not out there making a nuisance of myself. But it's more the general point of different degrees of wilderness being more or less dangerous. Obviously, as the GeoWizard demonstrated, Britain can be pretty dangerous. And he did in fact nearly drown in a bog, only about 30 miles away from where I live, which is actually somewhat entertaining for me. Because I know the area quite well, and I'm like, how did he get... Well, I know how he got lost there. He didn't carry a map with him. This was the time his GPS broke, so... His GPS broke and it didn't seem like he took a map with him, so he got lost. In fact, he didn't drown in a bog that time. He crossed a sketchy bog, but he didn't drown. He didn't have trouble with it, if I remember correctly. So it's probably hyperbole on my part to say that. But he did get very lost in what's definitely one of the more wild parts of the UK, so... with a lot of peat bogs in it that he could have drowned in. Just saying. Almost done playing Minecraft. Got this. Well, I just got to fill in these last few bits, haven't we? And then I'll see how long I've been streaming for, and if I. Well, yes, I'll do a little bit with the switches. Otherwise, I should probably go and do some actual work. So the other thing to remember about falling in cold water is that if you're in for any length of time, your body will be colder after you get out. Assuming you do get out, of course. Like, your body will cool down more once you've left the water for various reasons. So that's like, you're in the water, it feels okay, and then once you're out, you're freezing for several hours afterwards, depending. It's always worth bearing in mind. So you might feel like you got away with it if you fell in and then you get out. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be a huge issue if you only. I feel like it's more of a thing if you've been in for a while, but obviously for me, I'll do like multi-hour stints at those kinds of temperatures. And then like recovery takes hours, and quite definitely I'm a lot colder once I'm out. And whilst it is a known fact that that is the case, it's not 100% clear why. Although it's could arguably it's because of the extremities getting cold, obviously, and then you have to, your core temperature has to reheat your extremities, and that's why your core temperature dips, essentially. Or it's because cold blood in your extremities moves back to your core, again forcing your core temperature down. I always thought it was just because of metabolism, right? Your metabolism is keeping you warm while you're in the water, and then it basically lets go when you get out. But yes, always something to bear in mind if you've been in cold water for a while. You're very likely to be colder once you get out than you are in the water. Although obviously that's not a reason to stay in. You'll be you'll soon find out just how cold you can get if you stay in. But yes. Obviously, exercise is a good way of warming up, but if you got really cold, you could be confused, you could be extremely stiff, for example. You could be hungry, you could be all of those things that would make exercising more difficult, especially if you're in like you don't want to be wandering around a slightly compromised mental state with stiff joints on the edge of in like a Norwegian mountain on slippy wet rocks. Like driving drunk. Although, undoubtedly I would. Being a little bit sketchy myself. Yes. Anyways, so back to computers. Done playing Minecraft. I can get back to building a computer. Um, I guess well. I say I'm done playing Minecraft, but actually the logical next step of the Switch is to extend out all of these, isn't it? And to curse my stupidity for not copy pasting this correctly. What's the logical next step? Naturally, I do the same thing again. Did I just not? I just didn't do those ones, did I? Except I clearly did do them in some capacity. Oh, well, I'll pick it up later. Right, so that's going to be it for now. Another day of, unfortunately, mostly just playing Minecraft rather than designing interesting circuits. But yeah, it's got to be done. We are, after all, this is Minecraft, so it is labour-intensive building stuff. Um, so yeah, it is what it is. But thanks for watching, and I will likely be here on Friday, but no guarantees.